Hi, I'm Lena, and welcome to Super Data JP, the channel where we turn Japan's real estate and cost of living numbers into answers you can actually use. Every video here is built on verified government data, not opinions, and not guesses. Whether you're planning to invest, relocate, or just curious what life in Japan really costs, you're in the right place. Let's get into today's numbers.
A one-bedroom apartment in Fukuoka costs less than half of the same apartment in Tokyo. So does that mean your entire cost of living is cut in half if you move there? We built an itemized monthly budget for 3 Japanese cities to find out, and the answer surprised us. Every video on this channel so far has been about investment yield, what a property earns you. This time we're flipping the question: if you actually live in Japan, what does it cost you, city by city? Tokyo, Osaka, and Fukuoka. The 3 cities most foreign movers actually shortlist, the biggest job markets, the most English language infrastructure, and, as you're about to see, 3 very different price tags. We built the same itemized monthly budget for a single working expat in all 3 cities: rent, utilities, mobile and internet, a transit pass, groceries, and dining out, using the same data source and the same basket in every city, so the comparison is apples to apples. Start with rent in the city center. A one-bedroom in central Tokyo runs about 206,188 yen. In central Osaka, 118,250 yen. In central Fukuoka, 77,181 yen. Move slightly outside the center, still a normal commute, and it's 103,842 yen in Tokyo, 89,000 yen in Osaka, and 52,100 yen in Fukuoka. That's a 50% gap between Tokyo and Fukuoka on rent alone. Rent is genuinely, dramatically cheaper outside Tokyo. That part of the reputation is accurate. Now utilities: electricity, water, gas, garbage collection. Tokyo, 23,705 yen a month. Osaka, 20,652 yen. Fukuoka, 31,286 yen. Read those numbers again. Fukuoka's utility bill is the highest of the 3, higher than Tokyo, higher than Osaka. This is the first sign that Fukuoka is just cheaper isn't the whole story. Mobile and home internet add roughly 8,474 yen a month in Tokyo, 8,908 yen in Osaka, and 9,200 yen in Fukuoka, a much smaller gap than rent, since carriers price these nationally. Public transit is where the story gets interesting again. A monthly pass costs 12,250 yen in Tokyo, but only 5,150 yen in Osaka and 6,085 yen in Fukuoka. That's not just a cheaper ticket, it reflects Tokyo's sprawl. Commutes are simply longer and cross more fare zones, so the same get-to-work outcome costs more than double outside the capital. For groceries, we priced a consistent monthly basket in every city: milk, bread, rice, eggs, meat, and produce, using the same quantities, so the comparison isn't skewed by different shopping habits. The result: 17,515 yen a month in Tokyo, 14,148 yen in Osaka, and 15,286 yen in Fukuoka. Osaka, not Fukuoka, comes out cheapest on groceries. Dining out, a mix of casual meals and the occasional nicer dinner, runs 17,100 yen in Tokyo, 13,000 yen in Osaka, and 18,000 yen in Fukuoka. Fukuoka is actually the most expensive of the 3 here. Add it all up, excluding rent, Tokyo comes to 79,044 yen a month. Fukuoka comes to 79,857 yen. That's a difference of only about 813 yen. Fukuoka's day-to-day costs are essentially the same as Tokyo's. Higher utilities and pricier dining in Fukuoka quietly cancel out most of what you'd save on groceries and transit. Rent is really the only line item doing the heavy lifting in Fukuoka's affordability story. Put rent back in, and the full monthly picture is: Tokyo 182,886 yen, Osaka 150,858 yen, Fukuoka 131,957 yen. Rent alone is what separates these cities, not the rest of the budget. Over a full year, that's a gap of roughly 611,148 yen between living in Tokyo and living in Fukuoka, money that comes almost entirely from one line item on the budget. Osaka lands in between, about 18% cheaper than Tokyo overall, with genuinely the lowest grocery bill of the three, and a transit pass nearly as cheap as Fukuoka's. Now the other half of the equation, what people actually earn. Average monthly net salary is 392,452 yen in Tokyo, 318,586 yen in Osaka, and 249,390 yen in Fukuoka. Fukuoka's local salaries run about 36% below Tokyo's, a steeper drop than the 28% drop in total living costs. Compare total monthly costs to local salary in each city, and Tokyo residents spend about 47% of take-home pay on this budget, Osaka 47%, and Fukuoka 53%. On a local salary, Fukuoka is the least comfortable of the three, not the most. That ratio only matters if your income is set by the local job market. If you're earning remotely, freelancing, running a business, or on a digital nomad visa, none of that applies. You're comparing the same yen costs against a fixed income, and Fukuoka wins outright. This is the split that actually decides which city fits you. Are you earning in the local market, or bringing outside income into it? The right answer to which city is cheaper depends entirely on which side of that line you're on. We estimated Tokyo living costs at around 225,000 yen a month in our digital nomad visa video, in the same range as the 182,886 yen we're calculating here, with the gap explained by different rent and lifestyle assumptions between the two estimates. What this budget doesn't include: income tax, health insurance and pension premiums, and one-time moving costs like key money and agency fees. Those add a meaningful amount on top in every city, and none of them swing dramatically enough between cities to change this ranking. One place the ranking does flip hard: private preschool. Full-day private preschool runs roughly 192,000 yen a month in Tokyo versus roughly 20,000 yen in Fukuoka, a gap that dwarfs everything else in this budget if you're moving with young kids. Fukuoka fits best if your income doesn't depend on the local job market, remote workers, business owners, retirees, and you want the lowest possible fixed costs, especially rent. Osaka fits well if you want a genuine cost of living discount from Tokyo without sacrificing much job market depth. It's the largest economy of the three after Tokyo itself. Tokyo still makes sense if your income scales with being there. The job market, client base, or business opportunity is Tokyo-specific enough that the extra cost is the price of access, not just rent. There's a non-financial factor worth weighing too. Fukuoka Airport sits close enough to downtown to reach by subway in about 10 minutes, with direct flights across East Asia, genuinely convenient, even if its long-haul network can't match Narita or Haneda. Tokyo and Osaka also carry a practical edge for newcomers: larger established expat communities, more English-language medical and legal services, and international schools in far greater number, infrastructure that doesn't show up in a monthly budget line but matters in year one. Run the Tokyo to Fukuoka gap out 5 years on a fixed outside income, and you're looking at roughly 3,055,740 yen, about $18,863, left in your pocket instead of your landlord's, almost entirely from the rent difference alone. The headline isn't wrong: Fukuoka rent really is under half of Tokyo's. But the honest verdict is narrower: Fukuoka wins decisively on rent, is awash with Tokyo on day-to-day costs, and only becomes the clear overall winner once you count the rent line at all. Quick recap of the real monthly numbers across all three cities. Total monthly cost: Tokyo 182,886 yen, Osaka 150,858 yen, Fukuoka 131,957 yen. Rent is the deciding factor. The rest of the budget is far closer than the reputation suggests. We've also covered Fukuoka and Osaka individually as investment plays, plus the digital nomad visa's income requirements, in earlier videos, useful context if you're weighing where to actually live versus where to invest. That's the real monthly cost of living in Tokyo, Osaka, and Fukuoka, line by line, not just the headline rent number. Subscribe for more data-driven breakdowns of real estate and living costs in Japan.
And that's today's breakdown. If you're serious about real estate or moving to Japan, research like this is exactly what separates a smart decision from an expensive mistake. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and drop a comment if there's a city or word you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.